12-week program, as well as pelvic floor work, I sort of pepper in a lot of post-rehab exercises as well, and then you have lifelong access to them because we're going to live a long time. So it's important. So I'm going to start with the shoulder. One of the most common things that ladies have, issues have, is with the rotator cuff. So your rotator cuff is basically what allows you to do a full arm circle. And you may not have even noticed that some of us might do an arm circle and we might end up out here because our rotator cuff doesn't work well, or we'll rotate the whole body to take the arm back. So you should be able to do a pretty good quality arm circle without compensating and taking your body with you to get your arm to go back there. And a good indication of rotator cuff issues is doing up your bra. So if you have a hard time doing up your bra here, a lot of the issues come from the shoulder and not being able to get you, or tucking your shirt into your top of your crops or something. So we're going to do some rotator cuff work, and we're going to work on these two beauties here called your shoulder blades, scapula for those of you who want the more, anatomy terms, the shoulder blades here and your rotator cuff. So the first thing you're going to do, of course I found the squeakiest part of the floor to stand on. First thing you're going to do is put your hands as if they're going deep into your front pocket. So your fingers are going to be facing down towards the knees. And you're going to stand as tall as you can. So, when I say stand tall, I want you to avoid pushing your head up. You just want to bring your chin back towards your throat. So you're lifting your rib cage off your pelvis. And everybody, you can still all hear me okay, yes? You're all good? Yeah? All right, let me minimize this for a sec. So you're going to start with your hands deep into your front pockets. And now you're going to bend your elbows out to the side. And then you're going to slide your hands back in and you're going to bend back out. And you're just going to do that. And what I want you to maybe have a look at, if you've got a mirror close by, have a look to see if your elbows come out to the side or if the elbows are going back. You want the elbows to go out to the side rather than going behind you. And another thing I want you to watch is as your elbows go out to the side, do your shoulders lift up? You want to try and keep the shoulders down. So all it is elbows going out to the sides without your shoulders elevating or without your elbows going back. Because if you have rotator cuff issues, I bet either you've gone back here or the shoulders have shrugged up for you to get your elbows out in the right position. So this is the start, elbows out to the side and elbows out to the side without your shoulders lifting. So you want to think of your shoulders. Think of your shoulders, and they were created to be wide and created to stay down. They are not created to narrow and to shrug up. So I want you to think about that, and I want you to, throughout your day, try and think about leaving more space between your earlobes and your shoulders. Your shoulders are not earrings, so please avoid walking or working. I know I'm talking to you in particular, Sarah. If you're working at a desk, imagine this is my imaginary desk. If you're working at a desk and your forearms rest on your desk, your shoulders are probably going to be elevated as well. So I want you to think about shoulders down. So this is your first part. This is working the internal rotator of your shoulder. So you're here, and now you're going to pause. Now from this position, you're going to take the hands away from the legs. You're going to externally rotate, and now the palms are facing forward. So I'm just going to do that from the side. Elbows out to the side, externally rotate, and hands here. So think of your arm position as two V's. You're going down, you're going out to the side, you've got the 2V position, and then from there, without the shoulders elevating, you're reaching upwards. So you're reaching northeast and northwest. Again, keeping shoulders down, your elbows bend. You're coming back to the 2V position. Now, without the shoulders elevating, you're going to bring your hands back down. And now, you're going to slide your hands into your back pockets and down. Elbows out to the side. Externally rotate. You're going to reach up northeast and northwest, keeping the shoulders down. So avoid being up here, you're not being strung out to dry. You're going to bend your elbows, internally rotate, and bring your hands back into your front pockets. So points to watch for: when elbows go to the side, watch that the elbows are to the side, they're neither behind, and your shoulders haven't grown with you. So the shoulders stay down. Then you externally rotate, palms face forward. Then you're going to reach up northeast and northwest without the shoulders going with you. Elbows bend back to that V position. Internally rotate and go back into your front pockets. So just be aware that especially after you've gone from back pockets, when you're coming out, it's very, very easy to end up here. It's only going to be a little bit, but you're going to end up here, and now you've shortened your neck muscles and you've already made the upper traps work more than they need to. They don't need to elevate here. So when you're bringing your elbows out to the side, I want you to be aware of your neck, your throat is open, and I want you to be aware of your shoulders. So what does that feel like to you? Does that feel like it's really uncomfortable? Does it feel like it's doable? Is it feeling, oh my gosh, that feels awful? So I would give it a try, but if you find that if it's really painful, do not work through it. Because your body, your nervous system is telling you that I don't want to say something's wrong, but something isn't quite working and your arm isn't ready to do that position. So if you're working your rotator cuff and you're stuck up here, or your elbow is stuck back here, this is showing you that you need to work on this first position. And this is basic. It's so basic, you're going to find it boring, and that's probably why you won't do it, but I hope you will, because it's important. We got to go back to the basics to get the big arm movements going. I don't know why I keep using my right arm, it's my worst shoulder. But my point being, when it comes to your rotator cuff work, basic is good because basic is correct. A lot of us are moving our arms and we're ending up here creating a lot of tension, which also creates tension in your neck. So now I'm going to talk about your shoulder blades. So your shoulder blades, these two bones at the back on either side of your spine, and they're meant to glide. And this is where a lot of frozen shoulder issues come into play. Without getting too technical, when you take your arm up and forward, or back and up, your shoulder blade is meant to glide with your arm. It's meant to move, and a lot of women get frozen shoulder issues because of their shoulder blade not moving properly. So another basic but good, I think that's going to be my phrase of the day, basic but good exercise, is you're going to take your arms out in front, go a little bit below shoulder height. If we go up here at shoulder height, we're going to end up shrugging. So if you're a shoulder shrugger, always think of your arms as being just below shoulder height, and it'll help you get into a pattern of not wearing your shoulders as earrings. So your arms are about shoulder width distance apart, elbows are straight. So that's what it looks like from the front. I've sort of got my hands lined up beside boobs. All right, and now I'm going to stand to the side. There, holding it there. Let me step back a little bit. And now I'm going to show you from the back. I'm just going to draw my shoulder blades towards the spine and then shoulder blades away from the spine. Shoulder blades come towards the spine and shoulder blades away. This is what it looks like from the side. You come in, and it's not huge, it's not excessive, and a common common things that will happen here, we will overachieve and we'll put our head forward. So I want you to avoid making it so much that you end up shrugging your shoulders again. So just think of shoulder blades together. So your elbows stay straight. There's no bend in the elbows. There's no shrugging of the shoulders. Shoulder blades come together and shoulder blades apart. So when the shoulder blades come apart, again, I just want you to avoid overreaching. It's not a very big movement. In fact, I think sometimes we get used to moving to the point where we have to feel it for it to be beneficial. This isn't one of those times. These are exercises just to get the mechanics of your shoulder working properly, because a lot of times frozen shoulder is about the timing of your shoulder blade reacting to the arm bone moving around in the shoulder girdle. That's why they call it the shoulder complex, because there's a lot of things going on and there's a lot of things that can go wrong. So you want to start with your rotator cuff exercises. So elbows bend, external rotation, reach up, and you'll have a recording of this, so you don't have to worry about remembering. You're going to internally rotate, watch those shoulders, and hands now slide down into your back pockets. And the same thing again, bend, reach up, keeping shoulders down. So however tall you are, try and make yourself half an inch taller. If you're 5'5", make yourself 5'5.5". Go for those inches, ladies. They do matter. And then take your hands into back pockets. Very good. So this is your rotator cuff exercise. And then you've got your shoulder blade exercise. And those two exercises alone will help you to still do your bra up, to tuck your shirt in at the back, to do a full arm circle without pain. But these exercises are very simple but very beneficial. Now I'm going to show you so we call these scapular glides, when you're gliding the shoulder blade together and back, and you can do it against a wall as well for a little bit of feedback. Let me see if actually if I go to, no, never mind. No, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to do it on the floor. I'm going to come down onto hands and knees, and you'll be able to see here as well. So you can come onto hands and knees if you like. You've got your wrist under shoulders, knees under hips, and it's the same thing. Shoulder blades come together and shoulder blades apart. You just can't see it as well here. But I just don't want you to force it. And again, the common things that happen is shoulders shrug up to ears, and we collapse everything here. So I want you to think about your shoulder blades together and apart. And if you have chronic shoulder pain where holding your arms out at shoulder height is too much, then you can just draw them together and apart with your arms by your side. So you want to feel the freedom of movement in your shoulders and your neck and your arms, because we use them. You're always going to be using your hands, you're always going to be using your body and your shoulders. So I want you to practice those exercises. Rotator cuff and scapular, shoulder blades, without shoulders rising and creating excess tension in your body. Just another quick note, and I hope this isn't too much information and overwhelming. The position of your head makes a huge difference to your neck and shoulders as well. So for those of us that text, just in case you do, we tend to, look down here And then when we come up to standing, our head may be a little forward than it should be. So I want you to think about the placement of your head and try and keep your head in line with your shoulders rather than the head forward. Because as we age, have you ever noticed somebody walking and they're looking down at the ground because they can't hold their head up? Like, this is 10 to 12 pounds of weight. And the more you have your head forward, the heavier it gets, and the more weight and strain it puts on your neck and shoulders. So the placement of your head is important, because if you're looking down all the time, then you're going to put unnecessary strain onto the neck and shoulders. So I want you to think about the position of your head. Remember, you have a neck. You're going to keep the shoulders nice and wide, and you're going to keep the shoulders gliding together, the shoulder blades gliding apart and in, and the rotator cuff working as well. And the reason why I put this in the 12-week program is because when you're in pain, you're not breathing properly, and your breath has a huge impact on your pelvic floor. So the way that you breathe has a big impact on your core. I'll call it here, because I know a lot of us think, oh yeah, I wanna flatten my tummy, I wanna strengthen my core, and we just go here, we just think about this, we all see it, we disregard the sides and the back. However, I wanted to think about the way that you're breathing. So this is why I put the post-rehab exercises in the 12-week program, because I want to address all those other things that are going on as well. Because if you're not able to take a full breath, which if ever you've had an acute injury, it can stop you from breathing big, and you want to use your diaphragm and your rib cage, because when you use your diaphragm reacts with your pelvic floor. So the more you use your diaphragm to breathe, and I mean the front, sides and back, the better it reacts with your pelvic floor. So as we go through each day, I'm also going to be giving you some tips on breathing and how breathing has an impact on your pelvic floor, because you might be thinking the same as me and thinking, well, I don't see the connection, and I didn't either, but I can show you some very simple tips to help with pelvic floor work. And it's not anything mind-blowing, but it's interesting because it's important. And also what we're going to be doing, when I get you to breathe better, I'm going to give you some cues to think about. So a lot of problems with the pelvic floor is that we tend to over squeeze the external muscles at the bottom. So, use these ones. I know, that's a nice graphic for you, isn't it? In case you need any direction, this is the back and this is the front, just in case you don't look down there. And what usually happens is that we will over squeeze these muscles at the bottom and make them super, super tight where they can't move. You want it to be a flexible support. And if you over squeeze these, you can give yourself pelvic floor issues. And if you were like me, after having 3 kids, the doctor prods your belly, feels that your uterus has gone back to where it's supposed to, and say, yeah, off you go. So I went jogging with the dog because it saved me so much more time. However, jogging with the dog, being 6 weeks postpartum, was not ideal. I shouldn't have done it, but that was just what I was told at the time. But now the pelvic health is evolving, and there's a lot more information out there. So what I'm going to be getting you to do, instead of thinking about squeezing the bottom of your pelvic floor, I'm going to ask you to think about, these are your vaginal walls. So if you wear tampons, this is where your tampon goes. Another lesson, just in case you needed to know that. When you're going into your breathing exercises that we're going to continue with, I want you to think about finding a muscle that will help to close the vaginal walls, the front, the back and the sides. I don't mean squeezing these little puppies at the bottom. So for those of you that think about your pelvic floor and then squeeze and then your glutes clench, your bum cheeks squeeze together, we're going to change that. Instead of over squeezing these puppies, I want you to think about creating a lift in the pelvic floor. I know it's like, how the hell do I do that? That's the way I thought when I was first getting into this work. I thought, I don't know, I can't really feel much down there. So don't be afraid or don't be concerned or don't think that I don't know, I don't feel. It's perfectly fine. But I think if you imagine a tampon inside the vaginal walls, and when you breathe out, I want you to see if you can find what muscles you would use to hug and lift. I know it's mind-blowing, and don't get confused. Don't think, oh my God, this is too weird. It takes practice. It could take months. You can, if you want to, you can insert a finger and see if when you exhale, you can find, and why not? I know you might be thinking, oh, I don't want to do that, but it's part of your body and it's important, and it'll give you that feedback that you may need. So you can insert a finger, you can think about if there's a tampon inside, and when you're exhaling, I want you to think about hugging the vaginal walls together and pulling upwards. Now, if that was too much for the first day, I understand. There'll be a little bit more of that tomorrow because it's important. But these little tips, I mean, it isn't about this small group of muscles here is not responsible for you losing control of your bodily functions. These poor puppies can't do it on their own. There's a lot more to it than just squeezing these holes at the bottom. And that's why the breathing comes into it, and that's why I want you to realize that, because it's a little bit doesn't, you know, we seem to think one body part and then the other and then the other, but it is all connected, and the way that you breathe has a huge effect on your pelvic floor and your core. And I'll give you another demo of that tomorrow, when tomorrow we're going to talk about your hips, and I'm going to give you some exercises to do for your